turn it off. Just in case I have to.
So that's a really nice TV.
Yes, so are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
How many, do we know how many participants we have? 8 participants so far. Okay. Oh, let me
You
see.
can scroll down. If you go down here, you can hit the arrow and you can see.
So where did Oscar go? Can I unmute
You
Oscar
can, yes.
like this?
Maybe we can ask
Unmute.
Councilman Flores if he can unmute
You can just
himself.
tap it.
Okay. Councilmember Flores, can you unmute yourself? You
Hit
can't,
the, click on it. Just tap on the little box.
like that?
Okay, there it is.
Can I get that screen up on the top?
Yes. From this.
How are you? Good to see you, Lourdes.
Very good to see you.
Yeah,
Congratulations. I see that you're still an LA Dodgers fan.
right here.
Yeah,
Wouldn't have it any different.
there. Oh, it's so good to be here.
Is that good?
Yeah,
Is that good with you?
Yeah, this is good. This is
Well,
great.
I can see if I can do it.
Hi, Maria. I have another Maria on there, but I don't know who that is. And Cindy. Hi. Okay, so we're at 12. Are you okay like that?
Sure.
Or do you want to make it there? How
Okay.
should we, would you like to change that? I mean, everybody changes it on their screen,
On their
right?
screen,
We'll
yeah.
just,
However, it's just however you want to see it here.
okay,
Okay.
all right. Okay, so we're at 12, I believe. Would you guys like to start or you guys like to wait a little while longer?
We're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you're ready and folks are ready, we can start the conversation.
All right, so I see Yolanda here. I see Roland, Nadine, Thomas, Michelle. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Hi, this is Marisela Santana, Mayor for the City of Lynnwood. Welcome to our Heart to Heart for the month of May. Today, we have a special guest with us today. Can everyone hear me? Yes, hopefully. Okay, okay. Maria Alvarado, we need to see you, eh? Well, our special guest today is someone who loves Lynnwood, someone who Lynnwood loves back. And her name is Lourdes Castro Ramirez. I'm sure many of you remember her. Hi, Juan. I see Juan there. Lourdes is Secretary of the Business, Consumer Services and Housing Agency for the state of California. So she is here today as our special guest. I'm going to do a little introduction of her and then I'm going to let her take it away because she's just an amazing person who comes from Lynnwood and who has never forgotten where she came from. And I'm really excited to be someone who can say that I've known her when she was here in Lynnwood, and now she's working for Governor Newsom's office. She's worked with President Barack Obama. She is an empowered woman, empowering women and communities abroad. So thank you, Lourdes, for joining us today.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So I'm thinking you can
Should I look at
You
you?
could look at, no.
Oh, I can look at the screen.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can look at.
Okay.
So
there
I'm
we
gonna
go.
have her here close to me, so it's not so far apart. Okay, you guys? So Lourdes is currently visiting cities across California to discuss Governor Gavin Newsom's $100 billion California comeback plan. The comprehensive recovery plan to tackle 5 of California's most persistent challenges, starting with nearly $12 billion in direct cash payments to California's hit hardest by the pandemic. The governor's comeback plan seizes this once-in-a-lifetime moment to address long-standing challenges. So the way I see it, what the governor's doing is what we've been doing in the last couple of years here in our city. You know, it's very similar to this moment in our community. You know, we have 2 new council members. We have a brand new city manager, and we have a new sheriff's captain. And guess what? The pandemic is getting farther and farther away. And so this is all of our opportunity to seize our city's 100th year, because this year is the city's 100th year birthday, and take a step back and look at everything that has worked, everything that hasn't worked, and what we need to do to make things better. So I think that's what the governor's doing right now. And we're excited to have you here and hear from you. So I have a few questions for you, but I'd like for you to just tell us what, you know, why you're here and why you've been gone so long.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, Mayor Santana, thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you to you. Thank you to everyone that's joined us today. It really brings me much happiness to be back in this city, the city that gave so much to me and to my parents and to my siblings, the city that really taught me how to be a leader. And I've been very fortunate to use those skill sets, right, and take them, almost use them as wings, and take them. And they, as you mentioned, they took me to San Antonio, they took me to Washington, D.C., and they're bringing me back to California, to Northern California. And so it's been a long time, but I'm very pleased, to be here. And as the mayor mentioned, I serve on the governor's cabinet as secretary of California's Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agency, which is a fairly large agency that is responsible for ensuring that professionals that are practicing their profession across the state, that they are licensed, that they are supported, that there's a fair marketplace for licensees to be able to practice. But I'm also responsible for ensuring that we're guarding the civil rights of all Californians. And something that I think is very important to Lynnwood, which I get to work on, is to focus on expanding the supply of affordable housing, and to work together with cities and counties and community-based organizations to find solutions that will lead us to end homelessness. And so today I'm happy to be here to talk about the plans that the governor has, the budget that he recently unveiled, and the work that is underway to ensure that families that were impacted by this pandemic have an opportunity to be able to not just come back and rebuild their lives, but do so in a way that recognizes that communities like Lynnwood were more severely impacted by this pandemic. So very glad to be here and to answer any questions that you may have, Mayor, and of course to take questions from the audience if there's an opportunity to do that. So thank you again for having me.
Of course. No, thank you. And it's exciting news. She is, I'm going to say she's the brains behind what's going on up there in Sacramento, maybe. But we're excited to hear about the work. that you're doing up there, but I do see Councilmember Flores. I think he might have some comments.
That's great.
Yeah, definitely. First off, welcome home. But I say that just physically, right? That you're here right now, but I know your heart never left. So that's always appreciated, Lourdes. You were an all-star since we got to know each other so long ago, and you've just continued that path. And it's awesome being able to work with your sister as well now at these capacities. And it's just such an honor. And yeah, and I'm excited that, you know, I think long ago we've all made a promise as Lynnwoodians early on to contribute. And it's great. You have someone sitting right next to you too that made that promise to her city a long time ago. And that's great. So with that though, I'd love to hear, you know, about some of the plans and projects. I know recently there's been some movement in different cities to house folks in hotels and motels. And I'd love to hear about that. I mean, we have quite a few here, and how they're obviously business owners, right? And so we don't want to totally cut them off and have them totally lose their business. They have their own families as hotel and motel owners. But we do want them to contribute in a different way now, right? And really help bring a better element to our cities. And what type of programs go along with that? Social services, right? Because it's one thing just to give someone a key and say, here you go, here's a home. But I think there needs to be that assistance for a person to kind of find themselves again, and help give them direction, and maybe not have them there in that converted hotel or motel for too long. It's strive for something else, and maybe we help them find a home in Lynnwood, right? And then bring in the next person. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what plans are.
Thank you. Yes, definitely, Councilman. This is definitely an area of priority for the governor and for, you know, the administration. And during the height of the pandemic, as we know, the pandemic did not discriminate, right? The coronavirus, COVID-19 impacted everyone in very pretty much across the board. However, what we do know is that those individuals that either did not have a place to live, or that did not have proper access to health care, or were working in sectors that were more prone to be places where the virus was spreading, those individuals were impacted at a higher rate. And so that was very much top of mind for the administration as we were dealing with the pandemic. And so just to kind of focus on the population of individuals experiencing homelessness, and how our response gave birth to what you described, Councilman, as the opportunity to purchase hotels and motels and to convert them into housing, into permanent housing, that became a primary strategy in terms of protecting what we consider vulnerable individuals. We did not want to have a situation where people that were living in encampments, that were living in the streets, were all of a sudden, spreading COVID, right? And so it was very important to look at homelessness really from a public health perspective. And that, gave way to an initiative that the governor launched early on in the response to the pandemic that we call Project Room Key. And so Project Room Key gave us the opportunity to partner with motel and hotel owners who were losing income because, folks were not traveling. There was really, the economy was shutting down, and the state was able to make funds available to enter into lease agreements with these hotel motel owners to make these units available for individuals that were on, either living on the streets, not having stable housing, and move them into a safe, stable unit within these, hotels and motels. And so we still have a number of Project Room Key sites throughout the state. But this was the first phase of a more comprehensive initiative to address homelessness The second phase, which is the more permanent phase, where I think Lynnwood has an opportunity, right, to take a look at not just hotels and motels, but vacant buildings or buildings that are being underutilized and convert them into housing. And so I'll describe what that program is. So Project Room Key, temporary relationship with hotel motel owners to make units available. The second phase of our efforts to protect homeless individuals was what we call the Home Key initiative. And so Home Key enabled the state to make $846 million available to local communities, to cities and counties and housing authorities to help them purchase hotels and motels or vacant buildings and convert them into housing units on a more permanent basis. In a matter of 6 months, cities and counties were able to use the $846 million that the state made available, and they basically created 6,000 units. So we now have 6,000 individuals or households that are no longer living on the streets. They have moved into a permanent environment. We just came back from visiting one of these Home Key sites in Northeast LA. We got a chance to meet with some of the residents that were living in the encampments that were moved in, and it's been a success. And it's been such a success that at the national level, other states have been asking, what did you do? How did you do it? How did you leverage the dollars? At the federal level, the Biden and Harris administration has now also made funding available to replicate the California model. And Governor Newsom, 2 weeks ago, when he announced the California Comeback Plan, is proposing $3.5 billion to be able to make available to cities and counties and housing authorities to be able to expand this program. And so I think that Lynnwood really has an opportunity to take a look at, are there assets, are there buildings within the city that, would be sites, to convert into permanent housing. And then the second piece, Councilman, I think it's a really important piece that I don't want to get lost, that I don't want to lose, because I think you're right. It's not just about the housing, right? That's really important to be able to move into housing, but it's also about the wraparound services. It's also about making sure that individuals have access to the social services that they need to get back on their feet, to the medical services that are necessary, to the mental health services in some cases, or rehab or substance abuse programs. So the state is requiring that operators of these Home Key sites have a 5-year plan to provide services to ensure that individuals are not just moving into these units, but that they are also successful getting stabilized, and then leading to what we hope will be the opportunity to reconnect to a job, to be able to at some point be able to move into a housing of their choice, right? So that's the vision, Councilman, for us to be able to build on Home Key, expand it, but we can't do it alone, right? The state, what we do at the state level is develop the policy, get the resources, and provide the technical assistance. The real work actually happens here in the city. And so we look forward to seeing how we might be able to bring this to Lynnwood.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. And yeah, I do look forward to sometime very soon start to talk about this more in detail. And very true, yeah, it's the local level where we have that opportunity to put a lot of this in place. So thanks again.
Yeah, and I would just say that if there is an opportunity to, like, if there is a building or a hotel or motel that is available, and you all would like for someone on our team to maybe get on the phone to do some like technical assistance, or to walk through like what is how do we do this? How do we make this happen? We have a team within our Housing and Community Development Department that is available to work with cities on all of the details, right? Like from what does it take to acquire them? How do we determine whether it's a fair price? What are some of the modifications that need to be made to the building? So, we recognize that some cities may not have, that the experience, and we have, a team that's available to be able to provide that level of support.
Well, I know that Michelle Ramirez, she is our Director of Community Development, and I'm sure that conversation she'd really love to have. So hold on, I'm trying to, yeah. There's somebody trying to log on. Please make sure they don't log on. Okay, so okay, Michelle, I think I have her muted, but if she doesn't turn on her camera, that's because she's probably busy. There she goes.
Okay, I'm gonna do a far shot because I've actually been in the hospital all day and I don't look great. So I hope you guys can't really see what I look like.
You look amazing.
It's great.
But it's so great to meet you. Yes, and in fact, our city actually recently applied for the PLHA grant through the state, and we were just awarded it and just signed our grant agreement. So we look forward to using that to help our homeless here. So, but I would love to be able to meet with your staff and to work together, and very much would appreciate that.
Looking forward to it, Michelle. And I hope you're doing better.
Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, so I will follow up. Just worried about the people signing on. But okay, so I'll ask a question, and then if anyone wants to ask a question, I'm going to need to see your faces and you need to raise your hand. Okay, and I'll call your name and then staff will unmute you. Okay, so the governor, of course, we're talking about the comeback plan. Can you share with us elements of your agency and what the comeback plan means to Lynnwood, aside from the home key?
Yeah, yes, definitely. And I want to go back to something that I think both you, Mayor, and I guess we can call each other by first names because I'm from Lynnwood. You can call me Lourdes. I'm going to call you Marisela because I knew Marisela. Marisela and I were reminiscing, and I'll just kind of share this. But Marisela and I were reminiscing that we met when Marisela was working for when she was a reporter and a journalist working for the Lynnwood Wave for the Lynnwood Press. And I was a college student involved with, I was at UCLA. I was involved with United Parents of Lynnwood, and we were out there working with parents and organizing parents, demanding greater responsibility and accountability from the school district because we thought that our kids deserve better, that they deserve, working water fountains and classrooms, that were, that had proper ventilation and, proper accommodation for our students. And so, I think something that you said and that Oscar said that guides the work that I do is what I learned here in Lynnwood, right? And what I learned here in Lynnwood is that it's very important to use your platform and use your voice to open pathways for others. And I saw that with United Parents of Lynnwood, where we were advocating not just for our children, but children across the city and families across the city. And those are the values, Marisela, that I also saw in you, and the values that I saw in Oscar, and the values that I, saw in so many people that are, either with us here or with us here in spirit, like, Maggie Godoy, Lucy Avalos. And so as, you know, I carry my sort of, my job and in my work, I want you all to know that Lynnwood shaped me, right? And the people of Lynnwood and the tenacity that, you know, people from Lynnwood have is the tenacity and the resiliency that we're gonna need to move into an equitable economic recovery. And that's really the foundation of the governor's, you know, comeback plan to rebuild, not to the way things were, but to build in a way that recognizes that certain communities like Lynnwood were more severely impacted and damaged by this pandemic, and that we need to double down on what we're doing when it comes to resources. Hence, you know, he announced $100 billion comeback plan, never been done before. And really, frankly, the only reason why we have the ability to invest $100 billion back into Californians is, one, because of the fiscal management of, you know, state government. Two, because, you know, revenues actually were better than expected. And three, we have a federal administration that is also recognizing that there needs to be direct relief. And so, you know, in response to your question about, you know, what does this comeback plan mean to Lynnwood? It means, you know, families who were renting, who were not able to pay their rent and have this accumulated rental debt, will be able to receive direct relief or direct money from the state to be able to pay those unpaid rental, you know, debts or accumulated rental debt. And, you know, I took a look at the numbers for Lynnwood to see how are we doing with, you know, the rent relief program in Lynnwood. And we have 168 applications from renters or landlords here in Lynnwood, about $1.3 million requested, of which, and we just opened this program on March the 15th, about $165,000 has come back, you know, to Lynnwood. And so I definitely would encourage, if you know of anyone who lost their job, who was not able to pay their rent, who had to take out, you know, loans or credit cards, you know, to pay their rent, or who's on the verge of being evicted, to please, you know, apply to the California Rent Relief Program. We're working very closely with the County of LA to administer this program. I had a great meeting earlier today with Supervisor Solis, and we talked about more efforts that will be coming out to promote the program and to do more outreach. But anything that you all can do to help Lynnwood residents, right, and Lynnwood renters and landlords access the program, you know, would be appreciated. And the way to get to the program is, you know, visit our housingiskey.com website. Housing is key, all one word.com. The information is available in, you know, various languages. So what the comeback plan means for Lynnwood is we don't want to see any family lose their housing or be displaced. And we know that many families have accumulated debt, and we don't want them to carry that debt forward. So we're doing everything possible to bring these resources to, you know, individuals that find themselves in that place. The second thing that the comeback plan means, or the second area that's within the agency that I oversee, that, you know, I think is of importance and significance, goes back to what Councilman Flores, you know, said earlier, which was, you know, the importance of addressing homelessness holistically, both housing and services. So the governor's proposing $12.4 billion to be able to expand housing services, and, you know, both through expanding, you know, home key, but also deeper investments in the types of social services that, you know, homeless individuals need to be able to get back on their feet. And then, you know, the third piece that I'd like to highlight in terms of Lynnwood is the one about connectivity or broadband access. And, I was looking at the data for Lynnwood, and I saw that 70% of the households in Lynnwood actually have access to internet or broadband service. That means that 30% of households don't have access. That's a very high percentage. And so we're very committed to closing that digital divide. And we saw firsthand, right? Because when this pandemic shut everything down and students had to do homework from home. And if you didn't have maybe you had the laptop or the tablet provided by the school district, but who was providing that internet service? So the governor's proposing $7 billion to be able to close the digital divide and to target communities like Lynnwood that still have a significant percentage of their households who don't have internet access. So, those are just a few of the examples, Mayor, of the things that we're trying to do, because we recognize that some communities were more impacted, and because we also recognize that some communities historically have been left behind. And so we don't want to repeat that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Moving forward, I think that's a great perspective for all of us to have. We can't go back to how we were. We need to look forward and see what we can do to be better.
Yes.
When we come back.
Yes.
Because we're not back fully yet, right?
We're gonna roar back.
Roar
The governor
back.
says.
Well, I want to take this opportunity to let you know that we have Adrian Landa from Assemblyman Anthony Rendon's office here and he's watching us. We also have school board member Alma Castro, and she's sitting over
Yes,
here.
I know, she walked in.
She's sitting here with us. And I can't see the rest, and I can't slide over. Let me see who else is here so I can.
Well, let me note that you have a department director that went to school with
Yes, I see that.
Lourdes there, yeah.
Mark and I graduated from Lynnwood High School, class of '89. And so it's so good to see you, Mark.
He's 21.
You want to unmute?
Who else?
Mark, right here.
Oh, Mark.
There you go. Sorry about that. I was muted. Yeah, great to see you. I was hoping you wouldn't say what year we graduated, but it's out there.
She did.
Yeah.
And I'll say it again, class of '89.
Class of '89.
Oscar and I, class of '90. And okay, so then we have a few residents here as well. So like you guys are hearing, Lourdes is part of the community. She hasn't forgotten where she's from. And I guess my next question for her would be, when you're out there in the world, you're our representative. You're the face of Lynnwood out there. When you're working, and I'm sure you're surrounded by, elected officials and people who work for governments across the country, what is it that runs through your mind when you're advocating for families and for people and for renters and for kids? What reminds you from your work in Lynnwood when you're out there being the voice for so many of us, not just Lynnwood anymore?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question. I have always valued the lessons that I learned from my parents and the struggles that they went through to forge ahead, right? And to really give us sort of the opportunity, to lead better lives. My parents, we immigrated from Mexico when I was 4. They worked very hard. We were undocumented for many years, up until I was in the 10th, 11th grade. And I saw, right, the challenges that they endured, not knowing the language, not not having the legal status, not really maybe knowing how to navigate. And so I think at a very young age, I realized that they were working so hard that I had to learn how to work just as hard. And I saw my role as being sort of the connector for them, and I guess in some ways the advocate for them. And that I think has been with me, right? Like the values that I learned from my parents, coupled with, you know, the struggles and the efforts of people from Lynnwood that I saw fighting for better school conditions, or for representation, or for like, let's get the streets, you know, fixed, or just, you know, for having dignity, right? And so when I, you know, carry myself in whatever role that I have, I never take for granted that that I have this responsibility and that I have this opportunity to do better by people like my parents, people like the people that I met in Lynnwood, and the people that I meet along the way that for whatever reason, right, are struggling. And for me, this is why it's important to not just stay in Sacramento as I do my job. I have to get out. I have to get out of my office and out of the kind of policy world and come out to meet with people on the ground to really better understand, you know, what's happening on the ground, you know, who's benefiting and who's not benefiting from the programs or the services that we're trying to deliver. What can we do better as a state to be able to meet that need, to be able to provide that level of support? And so I think that those are the, you know, I think that those are the things that guide me. And I'll also say that I had a conversation recently with a friend about, you know, when you're the first to enter certain spaces, you often feel like you got here by some sort of freak accident. You know, it's like, how did I get to be secretary of this agency at the state? How did I get to work for the Obama administration? How did I get to be CEO of the San Antonio Housing Authority? And even though I've had this path, there's this disconnect that happens in your mind because I never imagined that I would be here. And so that disconnect of like where you saw yourself, and I mean, I saw myself here and I may be here. And so I'm trying to close that gap. I'm trying to close that gap. And I think what I realize is that the way that I am able to close that gap is by, you know, acknowledging that it is okay, right? That I jumped ahead. For some reason, I jumped ahead. And actually, it's not even for some reason, I've earned it. I've worked hard and I've had people that I've learned from and that have supported me. And so I think it's my responsibility to do the same for others, to, you know, to support others, you know, to come up and to feel comfortable, I guess, you know, in my skin and in the place that I'm at. But to also be grateful and to acknowledge really the people that, you know, were around me that helped me sort of get to where I'm at. It's, you know, it is a hard job, right? When you feel that you're the representative of a community or the face of a community, because I'm always like striving for perfection. I don't want to do anything that will ever embarrass my parents, that will ever embarrass my family, that will ever embarrass my community, because I find that, you know, there's still not enough of us in these positions. And when one of us doesn't do something well, like it gets magnified. And so there is a lot of pressure, you know, there's a lot of pressure because, you know, I want to make sure that I don't, I guess, you know, like do something that will impact others from being able to also get ahead. Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
That's a
Well,
lot, sorry.
Okay.
Long-winded.
No, but it's an incredible path. It's an incredible journey. Let me tell you guys, when Lourdes got that job in San Antonio, we cried. It was me, Maria Alvarado's on the line, Martina, Rachel Chavez. Lourdes was supposed to be our next council member. Right before she left, we were all gonna stand behind her to support her. She was supposed to be our next council member. And then she's like, nope, sorry, I'm leaving. I got a job in San Antonio. And so, they always say that God, it's things happen for a reason. And the fact that she left, God had bigger plans for her. And so we are overly blessed. And I'm sure that she's like, oh my gosh, I can't. That's what when she said, it's like I skipped. Like, no, like she definitely worked her way up. But I'm glad that you haven't forgotten about us here in Lynnwood. So I wanted, let me see, does anybody have a question? Anybody would like to ask a question before I ask? I have some official city questions that I got from a few residents. You have to show me your face and raise your hand if you want to. Juan Munoz. Okay, Juan, I need to see you. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Hi, thank you so much, and thank you so much for your last response and for being so personal. So thank you for your time. I'm really excited to see that there's in this budget, right? And I know it's the comeback plan and all this stuff, but we're also seeing further investment in environmental stuff, right? So we're seeing that he's committing to the ambitious climate goals that he's set, Governor Newsom, and we're seeing also some commitments to transportation as well, right? Which are sometimes connected. So I just wanted to see if you could speak to some of that. Yeah.
Yes, very important. And, thank you, Juan, for that question. Yes, so, the mayor mentioned early on that the overall focus of the comeback plan is to address these, 5 very challenging areas, right? And one of them, so we talked about housing and homelessness. And we've also talked about the importance of direct relief to families. But another priority is exactly what you've just highlighted, Juan, which is addressing climate change, addressing the environmental issues that oftentimes affect Black and Brown communities more so than others. So there are several proposals within the comeback plan, including one in my agency that is it's a $500 million to cities and local communities to be able to lead planning efforts that bring climate goals, transit goals, and housing together. And you're spot on, transit and housing are related. And of course, climate goals are related. So to the extent that we can create housing closer to public transit, that means that we're reducing, greenhouse gases and, less use and less need to use a vehicle. So funds, have been made available to be able to do that. Our Environmental Protection Agency also has a number of initiatives underway that are, again, focused on addressing climate goals, but very much from a perspective of equity, right? In a perspective of recognizing that some communities are in areas where there's higher rates of contamination. I know, I was in Bell Gardens earlier this morning. And of course, we know that there are, Southeast communities that are very close to the Alameda corridor, right? That maybe have higher rates of, health risk. So, funding to be able to address those types of issues. So it's, it is front and center for us. And, we look forward to seeing, what we might be able to do here in Lynnwood, to address those challenges.
Thank you. Yes,
Mhm.
you know, we not only, we're right in the middle of the Alameda corridor, the 710 freeway and the 105 freeway. So both, we have two freeways that run through our city. So we're in a unique place here where we definitely need funding to
Mhm.
address some of those issues.
Mhm.
You know, we do need help with some of our parks. We've had to address a lot of our trees, trees that were too old or not taken care of properly over the last 60 years. We had to tear them down. So right now we're working on planting a lot of new trees, but of course that takes time. But yeah, in terms of studies or any type of funding that we can get to bring in some more trees and more parks, that would be great.
Yeah, so there's, you know, I know Caltrans was out here a few weeks ago, and the only reason I know that, actually, it shouldn't be the only reason, but one of the reasons I know that is because I saw my sister Alma out there with several of you, and the Caltrans team cleaning the off-ramp of the 105 freeway, and beautifying the area. So these efforts, we expect to see many more of them across the state. The comeback plan includes $1.5 billion to be able to do cleanup and beautification, and also to commission public art to be able to, you know, improve just the way that our cities and streets and, you know, roadways look. And so I think that there will be opportunities for us to be able to do more of that together. And I also thought about something that before I lose this thought, Mayor, that I really would encourage, you know, anyone that's joined us today to also consider serving on boards or councils at the state level. We have so many boards and commissions and councils that really become the vehicle, right, for local leaders or local residents to provide their perspective and to bring voice, you know, to those conversations. And just within the agency that I oversee, we have 37 boards and bureaus that, you know, that have where the governor appoints, you know, board members. And so we're always looking for board members. And if, you know, anyone's interested, you know, you can go to the governor's website and look for appointments. And you'll see the list of all of the opportunities to serve, whether if you're interested in education, if you're interested in housing or homelessness, or if you're interested in, you know, the environment. There are so many different opportunities, and we're always looking for residents. And so it would be great to be able to have Lynnwood representatives, you know, serving on some of those boards.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I believe we have a few, several members of the community on here who I'm sure would be
Yeah, that would
perfect
be great.
candidates for some of those boards.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And so I know you mentioned something. Oh, we were talking about the climate, climate concerns. So we are working on developing a bike path also behind one of our parks here, Ricardo Lara Linear Park. So we are working on that. I know you did mention Palma, and I want to, before the hour ends, I would like to for you to address the transforming of public schools into gateways for, since we have a school board member here with us. So I wanted to ask you about Caltrans. And that's one of the questions that I received from a member in the community, assistance with Caltrans. Even though they have become great community partners with all of our cities. They have new task force, they have new ambassador program, and they have a new director over there who is actually listening to us. So we're really happy with that. But because a lot of us in a lot of our cities are dealing with the homeless encampments in our parks. We have a park that the back side of the park is the Caltrans property. So would you be able to provide, is your office able to give them some ability to clean up the homeless encampments on their properties when it comes to those type of things?
Yeah, so, this is becoming, so, we talked about the importance of creating permanent housing, right, for individuals experiencing homelessness and providing the services. But we recognize also that, the encampments and the issue, the people living in encampments are, living in very unsafe conditions and very unhealthy conditions in most cases. And also that it creates, right, other issues for residents of neighborhoods or residents that want to access parks. So we are, so the governor really, within his proposal, is planning for $50 million for grants within our agency that will be, the grant program is encampment resolution grants. So these, grants will be available to communities that are working in a particular, area to connect individuals that are homeless and living in encampments to services, to housing, to really help with the transition, but to do so in a way that, that is fair and that is humane. Earlier today, I had the opportunity to visit with the City of LA Housing Authority and several organizations that were able to purchase a building and convert it into a home key site. And most of the residents that live at this home key site were living in an encampment in a park, or like a linear park, like almost across the street from the building. And so I talked to one of the residents that lives there now, and he's been living, in an encampment. And I said to him, so what convinced you to be able to move, right? Like, what was the thing that led you to want to move from being in the streets into a unit? And he said, having a shower, having a place where I can shower. And so I think it's also important to recognize that sometimes even just having the conversation and then having the resource or the place, that's all they need, to make that connection. But if we're just moving people without having a place for them to go, that's not going to work. They're just going to move to a different part of the city. So it has to be a comprehensive strategy. We have to have the resources to engage, but also the place for individuals to go. But of course, this is a proposal right now, and we're, working very closely with, the legislature. And Adrian, I haven't had an opportunity to meet you, but, I'm so glad that you've joined us. Speaker Rendon has been really a terrific leader and a partner. And, we look forward to working very closely as we have, with the speaker and also the members of the legislature as we advance, some of these proposals. I think we've learned a lot, coming out of this pandemic, and we hope to be able to take those lessons and to help more people. So good to meet you, Adrian.
Can you unmute yourself? No, let me unmute you.
There you go.
There you go.
Thank you so much, Secretary Castro Ramirez, for taking time out of your busy schedule to come here in the beautiful city of Lynnwood. And first and foremost, thank you for sharing your story. That's pretty amazing. Kudos to you. I can only imagine the stuff that you went through, and I'm sure your parents are extremely proud of what you've been able to achieve. And then also thank you for sharing the information that I'll be able to relay with our constituents. I do have a question.
Yes.
But I know that the mayor also has a list of questions too, but I can always follow up.
No, go ahead.
One thing that I have been privileged to witness are kind of the effectiveness of chambers of commerce. So these are small entities that bring the small businesses together, and they kind of feed off each other's energy through publicity, networking, and whatnot. My question is very broad in that, are there any programs for cities, including the city of Lynnwood, to either begin one or jumpstart their chamber of commerce to basically help out the local business community?
Yes.
It's a great question, Adrian. I will, I completely agree with you. I think that, having a chamber, whether it's just a traditional chamber of commerce or a Latino, Hispanic chamber of commerce or African-American chamber of commerce, I think that these, groups that are able to come together to learn from each other, but also to advocate collectively, I think are very important. And I don't know if there's anything I'm not aware of anything specifically, Adrian, so let me follow up. I'm not aware of anything specifically in the comeback plan that would sort of target dollars to be able to support the creation of chambers of commerce. What we have been, very focused on has been making small business loan programs or grants available to small business owners that were impacted by COVID, and so that's been really the primary vehicle. But I will say that, just recently, so I know that the CEO of the National Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Ramiro Cavazos, and I know that the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce at the national level has been quite active in ensuring that dollars that are coming from the federal government are reaching the chambers at the local level. But if you don't have a chamber, right, then there's sort of that missed opportunity. And so I guess Lynnwood, because when I was here back in the day, we did have a chamber, but maybe maybe it's not as active anymore. But I can follow up.
Actually, Mark was the director, I remember. Years ago.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Well, we are working. I know that staff and I are working on trying to figure out how we can start a new type of chamber for our businesses. Not something that is funded by the city, but it's something that is self-sustaining. Our community, as you know, is made up of small businesses who need a platform like a chamber. So I already have a name for it and everything, Adrian.
Right.
So the three of us need to powwow some more. But yeah, it's something that our businesses really need. I am hoping that we can get some funding for revitalization for our small businesses. I as you know as well, a lot of our businesses and buildings per se have been up for years with no money, no funding for revitalization. So I'm hoping we can get some money for that. And I know that's something that I've been working with staff. And I think all of our communities could benefit from a revitalization plan with funding directed to helping businesses, not just with rental assistance and utilities assistance, because I know that our small businesses need that type of help as well. But our small businesses, they live paycheck to paycheck, and so how valuable would it be for them to get a small grant to fix the outside of their business or the inside? Maybe something that will help them boost their sales, something that will help them bring in more customers so that they can hire employees. So that would be job providing as well. So that is on our radar. And but if that's something that you can help us with as well, that would be great. Because I think that's something that our small businesses really need. We don't have big box retailers in our city that generate all of the sales tax that other communities get. But we do have a lot of strong small businesses that are resilient, and they struggled, but a lot of them came through, and now they're coming back slowly.
Right.
Slowly. But thank you for that. Right. So that was a great question, Adrian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I need to see faces and a hand. No? Okay. Well, I'm going to invite Dr. Alma Castro to come and sit here. And I want Lourdes, Secretary Castro Ramirez, to talk a little bit about the part of the governor's comeback plan that has to do with public schools and education. Yes? Véngase,
Yes,
doctora
thank
Alma. Véngase, because I'm pretty sure that other school board members, I invited other school board members, but you know, they're working.
Yeah. Right. Good to see you, Alma.
Look, sisters.
Good to see you.
Welcome home, Lourdes.
Yeah, well, I'm so excited, right? I think I mentioned to everybody that there's 9 of us in the Castro family. I'm the eldest. Alma is the third in line. And then the youngest is Jasmine. She's 24, 25. And so when Alma decided to run for office, the school board, we were all so excited, you know, and so and she got elected, and so, you know, congratulations again, Alma. And so I think Alma knows more about the budget education than I do, because my sort of area is much more like on the business, economic development, housing and homelessness. But what I will say is that you know, there's been a very strong focus in terms of the governor's, you know, comeback plan, in terms of making sure that as students come back to school, that they are able to do so safely. And, you know, we all know that the vaccine now is available to 12-year-olds and up. So, you know, there's a big focus on making sure that the vaccine is, you know, that young students are getting vaccinated, and that they're doing so safely and before they, you know, return to school. And, you know, we also recognize that there were a number of changes that needed to be made physically to like the classroom and the schools to ensure, you know, again, the safety protocols. So there's, you know, funding available to be able to do that. And, you know, just ongoing support to make sure that our schools are able to recover from, you know, this almost 15 to 18 months of having to weather this pandemic. So
Well, thank you, Lourdes. Thank you for earlier in the conversation, I think you spoke briefly about the broadband and the need to continue to expand our resources and in that area. And I think for students and for our families, you know, I saw it firsthand when neighbors came to our home and asked if they can sit outside while they connected. You know, I set up some tables outside while they connected and did some of the homework. And I just saw so many families doing the same. You know, I saw across the street families doing this, and these smaller hubs supporting because of the limited of broadband access, right? So I'm, you know, very pleased, and just as all of our colleagues, school board members, just very happy with the May revise and the investment in education from PK 20 through early childhood education, special education investment, nutrition, just also the expanded learning opportunities through AB 86, and investing in educators as well, professional learning, and supports with institutions, IHEs, right, college and pathways to education. So just really trying to connect to the community, and through the work that we're doing at the school board, we're really trying to leverage all of these different grants and funds so that we can get these resources out to our children, to our families and do, you talked a little bit about the wraparound services and such a high need in our schools, the social emotional piece and also the engagement of our familias.
Which is most important.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's why it makes me really, I'm so happy to be in Lynnwood because you all have, I mean, you're all sort of focused on the right reasons in the right areas. And I think the opportunity that we have is to make sure that the resources that are being made available do make it to Lynnwood. Because my sort of, impression growing up in Lynnwood and, the fights that we fought for better schools, better facilities, I think was often a result of our school district or our city not getting a fair share of resources. So what ended up happening is that we would kind of fight over, limited resources. So I think there's an opportunity, right, with leadership at the school board, with leadership at the city, to be able to position Lynnwood to leverage the resources that are coming from the federal and the state, and to move your agenda forward on, really improving the quality of life for all Lynnwood residents. So I really applaud you, Mayor. I applaud you, Alma, board member, and the board members that have joined us. And please just know that we are partners with you, and that we recognize that this is not easy work. And to the extent that resources matter, but also the hard work is actually getting implementing and getting it done. So let us know how we can help.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think one of our residents, Domitila Aguilar, which I know you're familiar with, she has a question. Can you unmute yourself, Tila, or you need me to unmute you?
Let's see, can you hear me?
Yes.
How are you?
Very good, Domitila. Good to see you.
The same here. It's great seeing you, and I'm grateful that you're here with us in our community and back. I did have a question. I want to go to you, Lourdes. It's about the comeback program. And you know that I work with a lot of families in our community in Lynnwood, and as an educator and also through the Rotary Club. And you're probably aware that a big group of our residents are undocumented residents, and they've been the ones that have suffered the most. So I wanted to ask you, the rental relief programs, is that for them too? Or is there like a separate, like, are they able to apply? And second, one of the things that we saw with the vaccines too, I know that our community had a very low rate going to the vaccine, to get the vaccines, one, because they were not close to us, and second, because a lot of our residents that do not have online services or they are senior couldn't really register. So if they want to apply for this program also, is there going to be like easier access or a phone number provided for them?
Yes.
So maybe that was 2 questions. So
Good
if you
question.
could please tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you, Domitila. Very good questions. So yes, the rent relief program is available to undocumented residents, to individuals that have that may not have legal status. They are eligible to apply for the rent relief program, and anything that you all can do to help us get the word out, would be really important. We will not ask for any legal sort of documentation, and this will not affect the immigration process that they may be going through. So there's no concern, there's no need to repay, and so definitely want to make sure that members of our city and members of our state that are concerned about their immigration status, that they know that they're a California resident and they're eligible to apply. The number that they can call to have, if they need access with completing the application or if they have questions, is it's a free toll number. It's 833-430-2122. And we have operators that are available to answer questions in multiple languages, not just in English. Also, I'll just mention, Domitila, that the application process or the application per se is a bit overwhelming, and we are working to simplify it. And the reason why it's long and a bit sort of lengthy is these are dollars that are coming from the federal government that have a number of requirements. But just 2 weeks ago, the Biden administration through U.S. Treasury released some new guidelines and changes to simplify the process. And so we are in the process right now at the state level to modify the application. The application right now, unfortunately, can take between 1.5 hours to 2 hours to complete, which is a long time, we recognize, but we're looking to cut that time in half. I mentioned the meeting that that I was in Bell Gardens this morning, and the reason I was there is I had an opportunity to meet with about 20 community-based organization representatives to talk about the application and how we might be able to improve the application process, our outreach, our education. We have a network of organizations that are part of the state's local partner network, and they are basically like boots on the ground organizers that are knocking on doors or hosting workshops. I don't think we have an organization from Lynnwood, and there's still opportunity for organizations. And so if the city of Bell Gardens actually applied to be an organization or to serve as a hub. So the city of Lynnwood can apply, or if you have community-based organizations, and we can certainly leave the information with the mayor and follow up on that. But so I hope that answered your question on the rent relief program.
Thank you. Yes, it did. Thank you very much.
Great.
All right,
I think
Oscar has a question.
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
So actually a comment. So where I sit in my office here is actually in Bell Gardens with the recreation department. And yeah, it's our department that has been assisting folks from all around with that program. And I'm glad you bring that up, that there's an opportunity for us to, in Lynnwood, to be able to assist in that manner. And I'd love that too, because part of the advantage of us doing it here where I work is that we get compensated. And it's our recreation department that is able to pull that off. And I know I brought that up with our folks some time ago. Maybe we can revisit. I know that was when the county was responsible for the program by itself. And now with the state's support, if we can do the same, I'm a parks guy. I grew up in parks, and I'll tell you, that staff can handle anything. So maybe connect with our city manager and see what we can do.
Yeah, Oscar, I think that's exactly right. I was so impressed. I met, I guess, one of your colleagues, Roseanne.
Yeah.
And she shared with us that the recreation center basically has been converted into, some days it's a vaccination clinic, some days it's a housing workshop, rent relief clinic. So it's become like a multi-purpose, center for providing relief and access to resources. And so I think it's a great model for Lynnwood, to maybe also look into. The number of people that are being served out of that site are also very impressive.
Yeah, tons of folks. We're busy here. We are super busy, and that's awesome. And it's great that we're able to be compensated because, you know, when the pandemic hit, recreation across the state and really across the nation got hit really hard. So this was a good way to keep us afloat here. And I'm sure it'd be helpful in our town too, if we can make that happen. We really need that. We want our parks to come back.
Absolutely. No, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Michelle is taking notes. No, but thank you so much. If there are any other questions, you know, I don't know if you guys can see her, Councilwoman Rita Soto just joined
Hello,
us.
Councilwoman.
We are wrapping up now. I don't know if I would like to say a few words to Ms. Castro Ramirez.
Well, I say thank you very much for being here, and then I hope that we get a lot of information, and then also continue this communication with you and see what we can do together.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. I'm going to let Ms. Lourdes Castro, Secretary Lourdes Castro, say closing, but on behalf of myself, Alma, my colleague, thank you. Thank you for being our voice in higher places. And thank you for not forgetting about your community. We haven't forgotten about you, and it's an honor to be sitting here with you and next to these amazing women as well that I get to work with every day. So thank you very much for joining us for our heart to heart. And I'm going to pass it forward to you, and so you can say close.
Great. Well, Mayor, again, gracias. Gracias de todo corazón, because the mayor has been a constant presence in my life since I met her. When I was in DC, when I was in San Antonio, she always made a point to reach out and say hello. And so I appreciate that. And of course, I'm so thrilled to see you serving as mayor of the city, to see a Latina from this community, you know, serving at that level. And so it is really amazing to see you and to see so many people that I know, right, serving in leadership roles. I will also just say that, you know, congratulations to Lynnwood, 100 years, right? This is really incredible, 100 years old, and it's come a long way. And I think that, you know, as we honor the history of Lynnwood, I think it's proper, right, to honor the people that have made the city what it is today, and the people that are trying to ensure that there's greater opportunity for future generations. So I look forward to being invited back to some celebration, because I'm sure there's going to be some pachanga here in Lynnwood. And then just, you know, lastly, I will say that it is a great honor for me to serve with, you know, to be a cabinet member and to serve under the Newsom administration. We have, you know, gone through a very challenging period with regard to the pandemic. And, you know, we have been tried and tested. I mean, the things that we have dealt with, from the pandemic to the fires, to just a number of, you know, like really things out of our control, but yet have never lost, you know, the sense of commitment and responsibility to serving all Californians. For me, it's an honor, you know, to work for a governor that is committed to making sure that his team is always keeping all people in mind. And so I think as we continue to see the light at the end of the tunnel, as he says, because we're in a much better place. I hope you all know that, you know, we don't want to go back to the way things were. We want to be able to build an equitable economic recovery that is inclusive of communities like Lynnwood. And, you know, I look forward to really having Lynnwood, you know, play an important voice or an important role. So this won't be my last time being here. So thank you. Thank you again for the invitation, and thank you for the questions, and good to see many of you. I hope to see you all in person at some point soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Bye, Oscar.
Adios.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Lourdes, you're awesome. Stay awesome.
Gracias, Oscar.
Alma, you too. I see you. I see you.
And Rita's over here.
Rita, I see you too. You're down there somewhere.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Same day.
Okay. Good timing because we